right. We will go ahead and get started. Woo, that is loud.
It's hot mic.
Hot mic. Hot mic. Well, hello, everyone. Thanks for coming. I know it's a beautiful day. We were actually very surprised to see any of you, so we're very happy you're here. I'm Mandy Jenkins. This is Kim Bowie.
Hello.
Hi. I'm editor-in-chief at Storyful. Kim and I have been working, we've worked together so much over the years.
We have worked together a lot.
We've been in the social news gathering space for, I think we put together about 20 years between the two of us, so we're ancient. But today, this is going to be not like any other session you've been to. I can guarantee it. It's going to be very interactive. There will not be a lot of opportunity to be sitting on your phone. So just so you know for the future, but we'll be talking about designing disinformation campaigns. I know that disinformation and fake news has been a big theme of this entire conference. I know everyone's been talking about it. I'm sure you're sick of it. I hope you are, because we're doing this completely different. So what we're going to do, we're going to talk about a little bit about disinformation campaigns, how they work, some of the tactics that are used, and then I'm putting you guys to work. We're going to break up into groups, and then you guys are going to be thinking like the disinformation artists. And you're going to put together how you would do a disinformation campaign to try to trick the media. And then from that, we will learn how, as media, we cannot be tricked. So it'll be really fun. I hope everybody's excited about learning how to think like the bad guys for a little while. We're going to get into that space. And if you have questions while we're in those groups, there's going to be a few of us walking around. Kim and I will be walking around. My colleague Rona, who is up here in the front row, will also be helping and walking around. So let's go ahead and get started. So first of all, I don't know, do you want to stand? Do you want to sit?
What are you doing to do?
I'm going to stand
because you were standing, so I can
I'm going to keep standing just because I've been sitting all day.
Then I'm going to keep standing.
All right. This is not weird at all. But I'm going to talk a little bit about disinformation campaigns first. So, this is not your typical just reported fake news. We see it in the end, at the end result of a story that floats around, and maybe some people believe it. Maybe we as journalists report on it and get ourselves involved. But this is very much about how this came into being, because often by the time it's got to that point, it's kind of the end of it. We are going to go back to the beginnings of it and all the various networks in which that happens. So first of all, let's see if this actually works. So when we're talking about I'm standing right in front of an archive. I'll just stand over here. Yeah, the disinformation campaigns can come together using a variety of platforms. So the ones that we see something on at the end is usually like a public platform. It's something like Twitter, maybe Facebook, maybe Instagram. But often it's been those various platforms that people are using to communicate with each other elsewhere. Maybe that's something like WhatsApp, or it's Line, it's Telegram, or it's a community, something like Facebook groups or Reddit or 4chan, where all of these are feeding in together to be part of how a campaign can come together to create a bit of misinformation, a rumor, or a smear that ends up becoming fake news and maybe even real news after the fact. So the way that we should think about these networks is that it's kind of like an iceberg. So the top part, that's usually what we're seeing in the space where we're working in as journalists. That's all the open networks that we're using every day. And actually our work is kind of up there too. The reported work that's out on websites, that's all up there. And if you're seeing something at that level, that just means it's the tip of the iceberg. It's much deeper underneath the water as to where that got started. That's where the private communities come into play. You've got your closed network apps that are going to be at play with that, and then there's the actual dark web. We will not misuse the term dark web.
The legitimate dark web.
Yes, the legitimate, illegitimate dark web is, and that's really just the unsearchable internet, where that really is usually not the dark web that we're talking about when we're doing this. So what we're going to be focused on is from like the, I forgot I have this little. Yes, there we go. So from kind of this area up is what we're going to be kind of working with today. So to give you an example of what kind of a misinformation and propaganda type campaign would look like and some of the tactics used, I'm going to go with the French elections, because we did a lot of work with this on Storyful, and actually Kim and I were part of a larger project called the First Draft Coalition, and they had a project called Crosscheck, where we were working on debunking disinformation around the French presidential election. So we'll give a couple of examples out of this, and then we're going to send you guys to go create your own examples. So when we're looking at the pathways, I'm going to not look at my own giant screen. I'm going to look over here. Here we go. So a great example of this, so there was one where the main story, the quote fake news that came out of this was that Macron was engaging in tax evasion, that he'd had money overseas in the Cayman Islands that he wasn't reporting. So this had started out on 4chan, where someone had come out, they had a document dump, and there was actually open conversation happening there on 4chan, where they're saying, well, you know, actually that signature doesn't quite look quite right, or, you know, like maybe you should make it look a little bit more convincing. And then, hey, how do we get this into the media? Actually saying, you know, where can we put this so that we can get this to be reported in other places? So from there, you know, they ended up sending it to a few friends that have their own delightful misinformation websites. So our friends at Disobedient Media, they published their own story about this. And then from there, they've got kind of a wide collection of all of them quoting back to Disobedient Media.
They all link to each other.
Yeah, they all link to each other.
It's all a game.
All the same people. They're not that different from the legitimate press, right? We link to each other all the time, too. And then that's where, from those sites, those links are what's going to go out onto Twitter, onto those open networks where people like us in the media and also voters, also other politicians, are going to be the ones to see those and start to share them. And then it also feeds back in. So in this case, it was in Discord, but you see the same things happen in apps like Gab. You see this in Reddit a lot. And after it was out on the open media, they're bringing it back into these communities to be like, this is the story that the media refuses to report. We've all seen those before. It's like, well, we're refusing to report it because you made it up. But so it comes back into play there to where the conspiracy keeps being added to as part of that. And then back on the open networks again, the opposition says, oh, this seems like a really believable and interesting story. I'm now going to amplify this. And that is exactly the aim of a disinformation campaign like this, is to have something that starts with a rumor, something might be completely fake, or it might have a hint of truth, but it's not necessarily going to be coming from a place of reporting the way that we would. And it makes it all the way into open networks and then amplifies by maybe it's public figures, it's politicians, it's people in the media. The end goal being, we want this to go wide. We want people to believe this.
These campaigns tend to take advantage of these platforms and advantage of how they know we use these platforms. So when I tend to see things like, once it gets to like the Reddit stage or the Discord stage or Viber or wherever it is, then that's usually like these people have an idea that we're looking at those things as like, ooh, I'm going to find the link before everybody else does. I'm going to find the link before everybody else does, or I'm going to get the story, or I found this really interesting thing on Reddit because I think there's a lot of people who are like, oh, Reddit's the place where like the internet is from, and that is true, but there's true and false things, you know, on Reddit, and so they're taking advantage of what we do.
And a couple more examples of kind of digging into some very specific tactics that we saw just in this particular campaign was, and this was more of a propaganda push. And we see this happen a lot. This is usually blamed on Russian bots, but real live humans do it too. So in this case, this was a planned pro-Le Pen raid that had happened. So the day before, they were on Discord, so they're on one of the community sites, and they're saying that this is going to be the time, this is what we're going to be doing, this is the message we want you to go out and push. All of you, your Twitter account, if you have multiple Twitter accounts, even better. If you have bots, best. So here's a collection of images that they literally put like a folder of images out for everyone to use, memes, the same exact message, the same exact language, and at a very particular time of saying, now, launch it all. And that way they're taking it, again, like Kim had said, taking advantage of the platform, and once you have something like that out there, of course, it's going to start trending, and it would start trending worldwide because there's plenty of people out there sharing the same exact thing, which we know the networks look for, that triggers them to say, oh, this must be news. That's kind of a problem. And, you know, and this is something, too, where we were seeing some more coordination in the sense of back on 4chan in this particular case, but of being able to say, this is what we're planning to do today, this is what we want you to do, and how they're plotting that out in this particular case of saying, this is where the media we want this to be sent to, these are our friends that have big Twitter followings and how we want you to send this to them. So very, very coordinated. This is not just happening by accident, but very much with the same exact message, the same exact memes, and really trying to capture what they think that not only the public is going to find interesting and want to share, but something that the media might get tricked into thinking, that sounds really reportable, that sounds really interesting to us. Like we want to at least look into that.
They're the same tactics that activists and PR companies use.
Right.
The exact same tactics, just not true.
Yeah, for some reason, we in the media aren't nearly as good at it. We got to get better about that. But it's also that, and we saw this in the first example, that there's always these quote, news sites that are very ready to cover the conspiracy theories and the propaganda campaigns because they're friendly and whatever that might be. There's always a supporting site for whatever crazy idea is out there. And if they can make it look like a real news site or seem like a real news personality on social networks, all the better. And one last example that's pretty interesting in this is that you'll also occasionally see long-term profiles where we've seen some examples of this where it's a troll account that was set up for playing the long game, essentially. If this is a person who's out here pushing these ideas, who seems like a regular person, but in the case of, and this one was the Jenna Abrams account, this had been uncovered in the US, this was what, like 6 months ago, I'd say? But yeah, this had been an account that had started with talking about the Kardashians and ended up pushing a bunch of pro-Trump and pro-Russia propaganda. So everyone was following her for Kardashian chatter for some reason, and then ended up engaging with someone who actually ended up being a professional troll. And I think it's important to know when we get into doing these campaigns that not all disinformation is necessarily like done with a big political mindset behind it, and it's done on all sides. In this case, like there's the famous Russian purchased ads on Facebook here, so with kind of using memes, very much just stirring people up, but also, over here, like this was also its own kind of disinformation. This was a former White House staffer for Obama who had sent this around with a story that Trump had dumped all of the fish food out in Japan and was like killing the fish, but they had not noted that he had done the same thing, that the president had done the same thing a few minutes before. So it isn't just like Trump. They wanted to paint this, Trump's a rube, look at him with these fish. So even like little things that we can unintentionally see and think that we're seeing the real story is actually its own form of disinformation.
A pile of assumptions.
Right.
Versus like specifically targeted things.
Yeah. But before we go into the exercise part, and that's the real fun, to be honest, but questions that you guys have at this point before we start having you guys work on your own disinformation campaigns. And by the way, we're not going to actually do these disinformation campaigns. Just up front, we're not launching a propaganda effort from this room today. This is all purely theory. Yeah. Oh wait, I got a mic coming here.
Hi, Tina Boller from Open Democracy and Investigate Europe. A couple of sponsors of this own conference have nothing to do with the world of news and media, and that's, in theory, Syngenta and Eni. Right? Syngenta has approached the organizers of this conference to sponsor a number of sessions on agriculture in which they have a direct stake. Do you think that's one way of influencing what people understand?
I don't know why anyone would sponsor a conference unless they wanted to influence people.
Thank you for your answer.
Ditto.
Yeah.
That's what sponsorship is about. It's about getting to, and especially the sponsorship of any media type things, I feel like that's they're trying to get at us. They're trying to find ways to talk to us. I mean, I've organized events before, and you will always get sponsors who are like, well, McDonald's wants to sponsor this thing so we can promote and have all of these people with very large social media followings tweet about how they had the new McRib or whatever it is. Sometimes it's as small as that.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's bigger.
I just want to know why there's not a champagne sponsor for this conference. That's what I want to know.
Prosecco sponsor.
That would work. All right. Now we're going to get to the really fun part. So this is the part where we're going to work together. It's going to be really fun. You're going to really question your own humanity by the end of this, and that is the whole idea behind it. So we got a lot more people than we first started here, but I think we don't want to get too many groups. So don't make me go around and be a teacher and form you all into groups, but we want to form 4 groups. I think we can kind of split the room here, but if you guys have like buddies that you definitely want to be with.
Three-ish rows.
Right.
In the 4, just keep in the corners.
So what I want you to do, I want you to think of it, we're going to stick with an election theme that you can pick whichever kind of election you want. That could be a country you know about, a country you don't know about, even a fake country, frankly. But the idea being you're going to invent a storyline that you want to push out there and essentially design how would you get this story to spread. If you were trying to spread this information, how would you take advantage of the media and of the platforms to try to make this spread?
It should be good because you are media, so you should
Yeah.
know
We
all
know
of
how
your
we
own
work.
failings.
Yeah. Exactly. So we're going to split into groups. I'm going to give you guys 20 minutes, and then we're going to come back and report. What I need, though, each group, you appoint one person to be the kind of the note taker who will also speak for what the campaign is. That person can also just draw a short straw, but we will we'll report back, and you're going to hopefully be very surprised at how well you know how to build a disinformation campaign.
And try to give us specifics, right? So
Right.
like, not like I'll put that out on social media, like I'm going to put that on Facebook with these ads using these target words.
Yeah.
Think as specifically as you can.
Yeah. So the first thing you'll want to do is think of exactly what the idea is that you want to be pushing, and then amongst yourselves, think of the most devious things that you could possibly do to try to get the media to take advantage of and jump into this story. Tap into your dark side. All right. And the three of us will be walking around. We'll be here to ask any questions and kind of help out, but we will give you, let's see, right now it is a little, like what, about 20
17.
after? Yeah.
Yeah, so about 40-ish after.
Yeah, yes. And if everyone's done before then, we'll all come back together, but let's go workshop. Let's get into our little groups here.
Make new friends.
Look, these guys, they didn't want to be part of the problem. I get it, but yes, no, let's start working. This is going to be really fun. So let's get someone together, take notes. Make friends, come together.
Trying to speak more or less all inside the microphone. More or less.
I explained it before. I think they didn't really know how to work with that.
If you click this, now it's on. Okay?
It's going to be a terrible live stream, but that's okay. Woo. All right. So you guys are fine. You guys are fine.
More or less inside this microphone.
Yeah. I won't yell at you guys if you don't use the microphone that much. It's okay. Just sort of pass around or whatever. I wonder if we could put it like in a chair in the middle. You think that'll pick it up? I don't know. I'm not really a microphone person. Nah, that won't really hear anything. Here, how about I trust someone to hold this? We can pass it around a little bit here. Could be the host.
Can you start? Davide? Okay.
Okay. The microphone here. So, what's the story? What do we want to talk about? Yeah. Okay. There should be some real stories, no?
We can build
Catholic people with this news and making them to spread all over the Catholic side of Facebook, for example, of Italian Facebook.
Yeah, but also I mean, the strong side of atheists and against Vatican. So, but
we would maybe have to have some papers, maybe like some secret papers from inside Vatican conversations that document some kind of conversations and that suggest that he maybe wants to move out
maybe
of
a
the
leak.
country. Yeah, like some
It already
leak or
happens.
something.
It already happens that Vatican leaks. It happens that insider in Vatican leaked some.
And he wants to make it public, but we learned of it like 1 week prior. In 1 week he wanted to say it anyway, but we learned of it before, and that's why this is like the whole discovery thing, and you can be like, ooh, yeah, I like that.
And
Sort
also,
of Julian Assange inside of Vatican.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Vatican is full of sources that just puts out things that shouldn't be out. So
I think that Assange is no more credible as a source.
Sort of.
Sort of, okay. And also I suggest, because there is I don't know if you are aware of, there is a strange case of journalists here in Italy. A well-known journalist of Repubblica published an interview to the Pope, and the interview. In the interview, you discover extremely left-sided opinion by the Pope, but the Pope said that the interview never happened. So maybe we can. We can speculate that this journalist is knows something that the public doesn't know, and justify the leak. I mean, but I think that with money and with a strong Facebook campaign, we can strongly influence Catholics and stronger believers, because they are also the public most influential and also more they believe in fake news more they're skeptics.
Let's settle first the story, because some people just said leave. What should we make up?
I think there needs to be also like some reason, like why would the Pope? I think for me, I don't know what you think about it. I think it's more plausible for me if the Pope says he wants to leave Italy and moves out of the country, but there needs to be like a specific reason why he decided to do that.
But
like,
so we are
was there some scandal?
No, it's okay. Because there is so much chaos, so politics should return to the medieval origins. So the Pope should lead the country, otherwise he will live, I don't know, maybe in United States.
So he wants to lead or he will leave.
Yeah.
So we are skipping the election theme, right? Okay.
Yeah, but no.
I don't give a shit. We don't need to do the elections.
Italy doesn't have a government yet, so
Post-election.
yeah.
Okay, so it's very broadly elections, but
Yeah.
mainly Pope
Yeah.
wants to leave. Okay, cool.
So what was the tactic, to be precise?
For sure there must be a document, a false document,
Yeah.
leaking around.
But what is the document? Is it like a memo or like?
Yeah, like an internal document.
Yeah, but who wrote to whom? Like it's the Pope. Oh no, let's say it's the Pope's assistant, assistant, secretary, and he had to make appointments for him in.
Secretary of State asking for an official request, doing an official request to the country where he wants to go,
No, I would go
where he wants to
smaller,
exile.
like
For example, France, he would have a letter wrote to, for example, written to Macron.
That's already very big. I would go for like his assistant makes appointments with him in all over Avignon, like checking out places where he could move, and like just super small. And then we have like I don't know. We can make a personal tweet message or something from some minister or something to him, like yeah.
Because you don't need so much proof, you need a discussion.
Yeah.
A little thing is enough to get other people talking about it and speculating about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you're talking about a media campaign. But if we have chosen Facebook, we should build an advertising campaign that can help our goal. So
Yeah, we would probably just create a shit ton of fake accounts and then like push it through fake accounts with memes and bullshit like that.
Okay, and also invite fake events, protests and counter protests.
Yeah.
So basically, Russia made it with the Black Lives Matter. So it's already happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can also put a group on the square at the Vatican at Sunday with some
posters.
Yes, Pope, go to
And also, I'd like to involve Sputnik, because I know some journalists of Sputnik, because I mean the strategy of Sputnik is basically to obtain more cows, more cows in Europe, so to sustain the power of Putin. So this is a great news for Sputnik to demonstrate that Europe is growing up.
Yeah, but we want them like to discover it, right? They find it
sure.
like, and they're like, ooh, this is the one thing we found on the internet. Yeah.
But
So maybe we should give a tip to some journalists we know.
No, I would say like we make it like we find out who of the Sputnik journalists is in what Facebook group, like some Facebook group they're in, and then we create the whole like fake network of Facebook groups that has already, the story has already been discussed in, and some obscure link. And then just in one of the Facebook groups that the Sputnik journalist is in, we drop like one small link or something, and then he clicks on it, finds the whole network of Facebook groups, and think he's onto something. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How we will judge our success? I mean,
with a public speak of the Pope saying that he won't leave Italy and he, for example, loves Italy, we can judge our success by
or maybe bringing people on the street and say, please don't leave Italy.
Yeah. Okay.
And we have to be prepared for the Pope saying like, no, I want to stay, and we can then the next document is prepared, and he's like, he just said he want to stay, but he, I don't know, messaged a friend of him and told him like, I will be leaving soon.
We should have like a document where it says like, if this leaks too early or something, the Pope will have to take the following actions, which say one of them is that he has to step out and say this is all fake.
Oh, I love it! Oh, that's so devious.
And the follow-up paper could be something related, which is very sensitive in Italy regarding Vatican. That all of this was made by him so that he could pay less taxes.
Oh yeah, exactly. That's great. Yeah, because the French like promised him that you don't have to pay anything, you know. Like, we don't give a shit.
So he and maybe a memo. We want to pay as few taxes as Facebook.
So he abused basically the elections to pay less tax.
Yeah, basically that's the ultimate goal. So
please don't leave.
Okay, we're cool.
Yeah. Do we know if he pays any taxes right now? Like just
here?
Out of curiosity.
Well, they have an independent country, so within their country, within their state.
Yeah, but he probably doesn't pay taxes in his own country, right? Like.
No, not in Italy, but I don't know. I'm not sure about the state property are not affected by Italian taxes, I guess. So.
He tweets also a lot. Perhaps we can use a tweet that looks like something that we are creating now.
Yeah.
And retweet it at the moment.
That's fun.
Totally misinterpret, like change the meaning of one tweet that actually exists.
So platforms, I would say Facebook, Twitter. I think they want specific platforms.
But like the preparation.
No, I mean I think that Facebook should enforce our goal. I mean, but we should act.
We would start from Twitter with the bots.
Twitter.
Oh, where would we spread the actual documents, like the fake documents? Where would we feed them? Because we have to feed them somewhere, right? So people start seeing them.
In like the vast jungle of ultra-Catholic Facebook groups in Italy. Italy is full of ultra-Catholic people, but also ultra-Catholic people looking for each other on Facebook. So there are maybe groups with I'm not exaggerating, 1 or 2 million people. So we can try to feed with memes or links to other groups that so as he said, a network of groups linking to each other.
But we should make it as credible as possible.
Right? I got a good tweet.
This document, no?
He tweeted, "Let us go forward with the joy of Jesus' resurrection, knowing He will always be by our side." Like He was always walking away already, and like, let us go forward. Yeah, I like it. Okay, I will save that or something.
Yeah, or maybe we could link this document to some journalist, like the one from Sputnik or from a journalist, a Vatican insider, somebody.
And also Skype, the journalist from the public.
I mean, we know, no, it gets really horrible what they teach us at DW, but where we can also try to send this fake document from email account of a Vatican insider to some journalist, because it works. You can do that.
We can fake fake the email address. So it looks like it comes from somebody really working there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's one way only. I mean, if it doesn't work, the operation will collapse.
Well, it's one thing how you start spreading the information. I mean, you have lots of channels, but
also,
this is like one option.
If they like discover it, I think it's stronger, because if let's say it's a Sputnik journalist and he like has the feeling that he is like stumbling into this whole huge mess of like documents or something, it's more like, because if it's just sent to him, he might ask himself, why did it send it to me? But if he thinks he found it himself, then it's like more, yeah.
He doesn't have to have the possibility to verify with the source.
Yeah, and he would check as much, because he just found it, so it's like more his document. Yeah. It feels like it is his document, yeah. Maybe
we should just send, maybe not just one, but a bunch of journalists this document from an anonymous email.
I wouldn't send it. I would really target the journalists and be like, this journalist hangs out in this Facebook group or page or whatever, and then get the link in there and make him find the link to the Facebook group, and make that for 5 journalists. 4 of them will be intelligent enough to find the link and then discover what we prepared for them in like a closed Facebook group or whatever. I don't know. Yeah.
So they think that they made it work, a kind of research.
Yeah,
and
let's say we have the Facebook group of the IT people of the Vatican. And it's like a closed group, and there is like a link somewhere, and one of them posted it for a totally different reason. Let's say for IT technical, we have to check this for whatever, or this should be decrypted, but it isn't. Yeah. And then the whole Facebook group is full of technical bullshit that we made out that they had to deal with over the last few weeks.
But also with real documents, we should download some press release or something, and also. Yeah, there's our fake. Yeah.
So hide it within a bunch of actually existing documents.
And then we just invite them to the Facebook group as if by accident, like as if like oopsie. And then in the Facebook group there's also another guy we made up who has almost the same name, so it looks like it's just the wrong invitation, you know? Yeah.
Perhaps you could also use disc jockeys of radio stations that are not very well informed but like to laugh about things.
Yeah.
Because Vaticanists really will be very prudent. Yeah, I think they will check.
Yeah.
So if you use journalists that are more on the laughing side of things, it could also help.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Okay.
Well. Yeah. Are we all done? More or less.
Do you have a spokesperson?
Oh no.
Yeah. Spokesperson.
Shit.
You have to read the chatty one.
Yeah. I believe in myself as well.
You can actually give me my code.
C'era una ha fatto un viaggio mentale con quello di Star Wars, Van, con la faccia. E ha fatto ogni volta che faceva un commento.
So, correct me if I'm wrong. I will start with what platform do we use to assemble? Like it's 4chan or Discord or whatever?
It's not using it. No, I mean, for 4chan, it's not using it. No, but for
us, like the
sharing,
bad people to talk.
Yes.
Okay, we talk on 4chan, and then we create like the Facebook IT group, the fake Facebook IT group, fake IT, and then we we create the fake Facebook IT employee who is almost the same name as the journalist we're sending it to, and then we do like the fake invitations, the accidental invitations for 5 journalists.
And if the journalist doesn't believe or doesn't get the document, we can spread information through other ultra-Catholic groups on Facebook. I mean, the link perhaps is spreading without the journalists, and the journalists will check double check.
And we have like non-serious journalists and like Sputnik journalists in there, so like people who won't check too much and probably just want to publish it. Okay, and they then find a document, and a document is what? Document? What do we call it?
It wasn't just non-serious journalists, it was also
internal game.
Radio. DJs, just
radio.
And even if it might just
making fun.
Internal memo from the press office, because in this way we can easily find real documents to assemble.
You mean we mix in real documents?
Yeah.
You can of course also do the thing why the press doesn't want to report on this. When no one takes it over, we have to do that perhaps, and then we can use these sites that always want to spread this kind of news, because they live from it. I don't know how these sites are called in Italy, but I know how they are called in the Netherlands.
And what document are they finding? Like what is it? Are we going with the appointments list, or is it like a memo from internal memo from his assistant?
From the direction of Avignon.
Oh yeah, the city council of Avignon writing to him.
No, maybe we should keep it internally. Like there was.
I mean, you're talking about the second document.
No, the first document.
The first document should be an internal document, but
one internal document.
The second document after the declaration of the Pope should be, I mean, perhaps maybe from the tourism office from Avignon that is happy to host the Pope.
Maybe it could be.
I don't think they'll ever be ready, but it's okay. We're going to regroup. We're going to regroup. We'll talk through what we have at the very least. Are we ready to report back our devious dealings? All right. Do you guys want to go first? You guys were done first, so. All right. All right.
Here's.
We'll just kind of stand.
Just stand and.
Okay. Thank you. All right. We had like this big election theme, but we didn't care, so we made something different. There is the big story we will be spreading is the Pope is going to leave Italy because he does want to pay less taxes. So he is moving the whole Vatican back to Avignon, where it was like in the medieval times, I think, before. And we will, as traitors, no, we're not traitors, we're like, we the bad people, will communicate on 4chan, but we will create a whole fake Facebook IT group of the Vatican IT people. And it's like a whole Facebook group with fake profiles invited, but they look like the real profiles from the actual Vatican IT people. And the whole Facebook group is filled with IT stuff and like the VLAN router of like this kernel doesn't work and we need to fix that. And then there's one post in there, which is one of the recent ones, let's say one of the recent free posts, which says like, which has a document, an internal memo from the assistant of the Pope, talking about how they want to move to Avignon. And the post just says like, we should encrypt stuff like this or something. And then one of the fake employees of this Facebook group has a name that's very similar to that of journalists we pick. So we accidentally invite the wrong person to the group, and that's then the journalist who is supposed to find that story. And the journalist will be either a very non-serious, I don't know,
let's say a DJ at a radio station, or like we had a suggestion of somebody from Sputnik. I hope nobody from Sputnik is here right now. Somebody who wants to publish and maybe doesn't research too well, and they will find that document and then believe that they found something original, and for that reason they will fact check less, because it's like, well, they will believe it's kind of their finding, so they will not fact check too much. We hope. Okay, so then we have this first document is published, and then we have also like a network of fake Facebook accounts who will then go in with the memes and such to make a big mess of the whole situation once the article is published. And we have already have a source that's more or less citable at some media site who thinks they have the spoof, the internal document. And then we have prepared a second, well, actually two documents. One second document we can then leak, which is the document from the the City Council of Avignon, writing to the Pope like, yeah, we would like to have you, and you will not pay taxes in Avignon. And I don't, one side thing, we don't know if he pays taxes in Italy, but this is just made up, I don't know. And we have the second document, the third document we are preparing is like the most devious thing ever, not my idea, was that we have a document that shows what the Pope needs to do if this leaks somewhere. So, and then this document lists what the Pope has done so far. So if the Pope comes out and says like, no, I want to stay in Italy, and he uses specific words, then we leak a document that says, yeah, he planned that from in case this thing leaked, he was planning to give that speech, and he also planned on that press release he did, and on that Twitter thing he did. So yeah, that's a thing. And we found one tweet that you can implement in the whole thing, that he already tweeted. He said, let us go forward with joy of Jesus' resurrection, knowing he will always be by our side, which is nice because you can embed that in stories and such, and like it looks like he's already walking away. Yeah, that's it.
The success.
Oh, sorry.
We also use Facebook to create fake events to, invite ultra-Catholic people to demonstrate against atheists and other counter group. So,
and yeah, the success would be, of course, the Pope having to deny this publicly. Maybe after a big campaign, a big protesters out of the Vatican, and you would have from the one side the anti-Vatican who say, please leave, and the others who say, where are you going, stay here. And in the end of this, there could be another document that says that all of this, it was a big strategy to renegotiate the agreements with the Italian government that pay less taxes and stay here in the end.
Should I stand up? Yeah, our story is based on a study we would like to fake, and the study indicates a regulation of Italian food. Oh, sorry. Where should I go? Okay, I can, yeah. And the study says that flour that is used for Italian pasta and pizza is producing a higher risk of cancer. And the solution the EU Commission recommends is to add 10% of insects in every flour package that is sold in Italy. Yeah, and the platforms we use is like, first of all, we will spread it around WhatsApp and family groups, because mothers are our core group we want to target. And we also want to set up a fake science website, Facebook site, wherever, like that looks like it's scientifically, and the study is not fake. And we want also to send this study to non-professional blogs that are bloggers that maybe are not able to fact check if that's real or not, and we just want to spread it around the internet. Then we will create a bot that follows a hashtag we will set up. We just said it's called Brussels Ruining Pasta. And then we want to have like coordinated live tweeting when there's a big Italian TV show that has a like very important hashtag. We want to occupy that hashtag by 20 persons of us have like 5 accounts, and we all tweet within 1 hour, and our aim is to get dominance of the hashtag, so we are very likely to get into mainstream media if we make that. And yeah, the campaigns are, of course, we want to find influencers, politicians that are helping us with our issue. And one campaign would be also like something editorial, how to discover insects in your flower. Like you can do that at home as well. And if we also want to directly address politicians if they don't talk about the insects thing, we will make a campaign that says the politicians don't care about us because they have their own flower, they eat their own flower. And yeah, for the tactics, maybe there will be kind of a press release from the EU Commission, but we would like to prepare for that. And if they are saying the study is fake, we say no, it's super secret, a super secret study that was leaked by a former employee, and it makes totally sense. The EU is denying that it's original, and yeah. I just forgot, yeah, the success is getting into mainstream media, getting it denied from the EU Commission. Yeah, that's it.
Wow, you guys were amazingly devious and very creative. I like that both ideas were not something I would have at all thought that someone would do. So, how did you guys feel weird during this, or did you actually really enjoy it? I don't know, you guys seemed like you really liked being devious. It is a little sinister, that's true.
I think I speak for everybody, but not myself when we said we enjoyed it.
There were some laughs coming from over here. But I mean, the intent of this is obviously we don't want to be spreading misinformation as journalists, but if putting yourself in the shoes of people who are creating campaigns like this, I'm hopeful that you can start to think of, when I see something online that seems like this could be real, is this a real outrage? Is this really coming from a place of genuine background? Or is this going to make you a little bit more suspicious down the road? And thinking about how we approach information that we see online, the kinds of people that are interacting online, and now knowing, even just sitting here for 20 minutes, what we could think up doing, the kinds of elaborate play that can come into this with the people who have nothing but time on their hands, who are paid to do this. I hope it makes you think a little bit differently about how you might approach this if it came along online.
Yeah, I would say think about the weaknesses that you both identified. Like I noticed both groups identified, we'll find a news outlet that doesn't really check their facts and then get it there and then target the big ones. Think about that when you're looking at something that seems semi-questionable, right? So if I think we're all very prone to, oh, but that site posted about it and they have it, we should get it too, but maybe this is what's happening. So think about those weaknesses that you would use and then figure out back in your newsrooms how you would shore up against those. How do you check against that stuff?
See, what time is it? We came just in. Yeah. So anyone, I guess, any questions or things that came out of this that you want us to make sure that we kind of talk about before you leave, or if you go decide that you're going to spread good information campaigns? Or is everyone just really eager to go drink now after you've tapped into your dark side? I get that. I get that. Well, thank you for coming on a Saturday. I hope you guys had fun. I know we did. And thank you, AV crew, for rolling with us and being creative in format.